Hi, my name is Matt Beard. I am the Executive Director at All Out, the global movement for love and equality. Today, we're going to be talking about distributed digital campaigning, how we bring power to the people. This is a presentation about how online community organizing and community campaigning can really contribute to changing the world. Before we move into the contents of this, I just want to tell you a little bit about All Out, who we are and what we do. And I'm going to start with a short video that provides that overview.
All Out is a global movement for love and equality. We've been on the breaking edge of the most urgent fights for LGBT+ rights around the world for the past 10 years. We use people power to elevate voices from the front lines and push forward historic victories. In 2013 and 14, All Out campaigned against anti-gay propaganda laws in Russia during the Sochi Olympics. Through extraordinary people power, we helped change the Olympic Charter to protect athletes from discrimination based on sexual orientation. In 2014, we helped an All Out member in China fight back after surviving electric shock conversion therapy. More than 100,000 people joined the campaign, and the clinic was sued, sending the message that being gay should not be treated as a sickness in China. Since 2016, All Out has been working with activists in Uganda to raise funds needed to pull off Pride in a country where being gay is still considered a crime. Despite constant raids and attacks, activists have persevered and pulled off historic Pride events that send ripples of strength through the community. When news broke that gay and bisexual men were being kidnapped, jailed, tortured, and even murdered in Chechnya in 2017, we jumped into action, raising enough funds for our partners on the ground to relocate LGBT+ people at risk to safety. In 2018, Brazil elected an openly anti-LGBT president. All Out launched a campaign asking the Supreme Court to criminalize discrimination against LGBT+ people. After delivering more than 750,000 signatures, the Supreme Court finally criminalized LGBT discrimination the next year. In 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic struck, LGBT+ communities around the world were being disproportionately impacted, running out of food, losing their jobs, and their homes. We raised emergency funds to support over 60 LGBT+ organizations in 35 countries. Learn more about how you can partner with queer activists on the front line and support historic campaigns just like these at allout.org.
So as I'm sure most people in this audience know, in almost 70 countries around the world, it is still a crime to be LGBT+. It's still a crime to be who you are and love who you love. And in 10 of those countries, it can actually cost you your life. And All Out is working to change that. Our mission is to work towards a world in which nobody anywhere has to sacrifice their family, their freedom, their safety, or their dignity because of who they are or who they love. And we have two really important sources of power in order to deliver our mission. The first is the fact that we use technology to mobilize millions of people around the world. We challenge and channel that people power to the fight for LGBT+ rights globally. And secondly, we partner with a trusted network of grassroots community organizations around the world, people who are working on the front line and who understand all of the complexities of the fights that they are engaged with. We do three big things in our work. Firstly, we campaign, and we campaign on both a crisis and an opportunity model. For opportunities, when there's a chance to move forward on that long and bumpy road to equality, whether it's a marriage equality campaign, an anti-discrimination campaign, we bring volume, we bring momentum, we amplify the voices on the ground to bring that change forward and to accelerate it. Similarly, when there's a crisis, when LGBT+ rights are being hurt or threatened or violated in some way, and unfortunately we're doing more and more of this, we also shine a light. We bring the world's attention to those violations, and we demand that decision makers change their course of action. The second thing we do is crowdfunding. We work with that network of frontline grassroots organizations around the world to bring badly needed resources to the LGBT plus frontline. That can be evacuating people from deeply hostile environments, establishing shelters or community centers, developing legal helplines for survivors of hate crime, and then last year, of course, a COVID-19 emergency response program that brought badly needed food and medication and shelter to communities around the world. We supported over 70 frontline LGBT plus groups in 35 countries with that program. And then finally, training. We believe that the digital explosion that's taking place around the world means that the fight for our equality won't just happen in the courts and the parliaments and in the think tanks. It will happen on a small screen. And we believe that it's incredibly important at this point in history that young LGBT plus activists have the tools and the experience and the knowledge to claim their rights in a digital age. We're based all around the world, in Africa, in Europe, in Latin America and North America, but we're a small team of just 18 people that use digital technology really effectively in order to do our work and keep our overheads low. Enough about All Out. I want to talk now about distributed campaigning. What do we mean by it? What is it? And how can we make it work? Our approach to distributed campaigning is very much based on a book produced and written by our founder, Jeremy Hymans, who initially wrote a Harvard Business Review on New Power and then turned this into a really fantastic book, which looks at the way that progressive organizations are organizing in the 21st century. For the vast majority of human history, power has been held by the few, and that also applies to progressive organizations. It applies also to the LGBT movement. This old power that has existed for most of our history is closed, it's inaccessible, and it's very much leader-driven. Once gained, it's really jealously guarded, right? We have, let's take our movement again, a group of professional activists around the world who guard and retain control and power over activism. So the powerful kind of spend it carefully and they spend it like currency. But here's the thing, the internet changes everything. The technological revolution of the past 2 decades has made possible a new form of power, one that operates differently, more like a current. So new power is made by all of us. It's made by many. It is open. It's participatory. It's often leaderless, and it's peer-driven. And like water or electricity, it's most forceful when it surges. And the goal with new power is not to hoard it, but to channel it. And we've seen many examples of this open, participatory, often leaderless power over the last few years, whether it's the Women's March movement that took hold after Trump was elected in the United States, Extinction Rebellion that has organically come together to resist climate change and climate destruction. And of course, Black Lives Matter, that in the wake of the murder of George Floyd last year, rose up in an uprising around the world that was organic and spontaneous and enabled significant change to take place around the planet. And in our movement, the photo here is of a protest in Poland against LGBT-free zones and other discrimination against LGBT plus folk in that country. Our movement too brings people together in these organic movements of change and possibility. All Out is a digital organization, and we believe that we can bring that sense of new power, that idea of organic, participatory action also into the online space. And that's why about 2 years ago, we decided that we would establish a new form of platform, a new form of technological platform that would enable anyone, anywhere to establish their own digital petition for LGBT plus rights. This would be a platform by and for LGBT plus people. We would never monetize this. We would never use it to sell data to other people. It would be a safe LGBT plus space. And over the course of the last 2 years, we've delivered this. We were not the first to this. Of course, there are organizations like change.org who have been working on these idea of community-based petitions for many years. I think the difference here is that this comes from civil society. Unlike change.org, we won't ever sell the data. Unlike change.org, we are an LGBT organization staffed by LGBT plus people and delivering for our LGBT plus community. So I just want to talk you through the platform, give you a little bit of a sense of how it works, and maybe inspire you to consider using this platform when you need to change something in your community, your country, your continent, or whatever is kind of inspiring you or causing you concern around the world right now. So it's a super easy sign up page. You can go into the platform, very quick and easy to sign up, and this is possible across 6 languages: English, French, German, Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian. Once you've done that, you are given the opportunity then to create your petition. We can help you with this. We can provide support. This is an organization that wants to be in touch with people who start the petitions. And so we'll be with you all the way, making sure that the petition has the maximum possible impact. You can see the bottom of the page here where you can turn your add an image to your petition and then finally submit it for review. Once you've done that, you will have a page with all of your petitions on there, and you'll have a kind of dashboard where you can change the goal or add new elements to the petition as you move along. And you'll see here an example of a petition that is live with 11,000 signatures already in place, a goal of 20,000, and then lots of opportunities to share that petition, to bring it to the world, to bring it to your networks, so that the impact can be as effective as possible. What we do at All Out is we approve petitions across a whole range of different LGBT plus topics. We have certain guidelines in that we don't accept, of course, any hate speech, but we are open to a very, very wide range of opinions. It doesn't have to be something that we necessarily agree with, but it has to be something that offers a positive example and that doesn't discriminate against anybody during that process. What we can also do is help with promotion. So when a certain petition is doing well, when it reaches a strong organic network out there and the petition signatures start to come in, we can boost that by adding a small amount of budget. We can use our social media channels, which reach millions of people around the world, to really give a petition a particular boost and start a kind of almost like a snowball rolling down a mountain, right? Where you have more and more viral spread of that petition's growth. So I would urge you to go online at action.allout.org to check this out. We are open to petitions that are literally about something that's happening in your street, right? If there is a local community center that has somehow banned LGBT plus people from participating in a certain activity, right through to something that's systemic and global. We welcome all of those things into this space. And I want to give you just a little bit of an overview now of some examples of some of the petitions that we have worked on over the last couple of years, that our members around the world, our supporters around the world have submitted to us and that we've run on this platform. So I'm going to start with one of the first petitions that was launched on the platform, and it came from Johnny, who's a young LGBT plus activist in Australia. And as I said, one of the first members to launch their own petition on the new platform. So when Johnny found out about it, they immediately seized the opportunity to fight back against the so-called Religious Freedom Bill that existed at the time in Australia, which was set to compromise the rights of LGBT plus people to healthcare, to education, to employment and safety. And Johnny was able to mobilize over 10,000 all-out members in the support of their demand to stop the proposed legislation. Now, Johnny's been working with the all-out team to deliver those signatures in Canberra. And in many ways, Johnny, in the first few months of this platform, became the face of this member-generated petition New Power platform, very much encouraging others to follow their example and start their own petitions. This campaign was one of the first successful campaigns that actually achieved a positive outcome, started by one of our members in London, who was shocked when he heard that US hate preacher Franklin Graham had announced a tour in the UK. Graham travels around the world telling tens of thousands of people that Satan runs the LGBT plus movement. I kid you not. His words often justify violence and discrimination against LGBT plus people. So our supporter started his petition calling on the O2 Arena in London not to give him a platform to preach hate. Thousands of people signed, voicing a loud and resounding no to hate in London. And even Newsweek magazine picked up the news in an article. Within a few days, our community managed to draw attention to the issue sufficiently that eventually all planned venues in the UK banned Franklin Graham. So this was very much kind of people power in action. EU citizens should have the right to move and live freely across the European Union, but many same-sex couples and LGBT plus families don't. So NELFA, the Network of European LGBT plus Families, launched a campaign in the early days of this platform to change this. In September of 2020, the President of the European Union Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, said in her State of the Union address that she would push for mutual recognition of family relations in the EU, because she said if you are a parent in one country, you are a parent in every country. And after the EU Commission adopted the equality strategy for LGBTIQ people, we decided to do another delivery to thank the EU Commission for successfully responding to our campaign. Eswatini is a small landlocked country in southern Africa, the last absolute monarchy in Africa, and I do want to particularly call this campaign out because there is an uprising taking place in Eswatini now in which many civil society activists are being killed by state authorities. But back in 2019, an LGBT plus citizen from Eswatini launched this petition demanding decriminalization of same-sex relationships in their country, raising attention, bringing awareness to this issue, and building up and empowering the local movement in that country. Like many countries, Brazil's Ministry of Health had a policy restricting men who have sex with men from donating blood, requiring a full year of sexual abstinence before that's allowed. And that rule didn't apply to men who have only had sex with women. So in February of 2019, the Supreme Court started debating if these restrictions were or not constitutional. And one of our supporters launched a campaign calling on them to lift the ban. We had more than 30,000 people sign this petition. And we followed the discussions closely, sharing periodic updates with our members. And in May of that year, the Supreme Court ruled that the ban should indeed be lifted. And this is a decision that is literally saving lives, particularly as blood stock levels across Brazil are critically low during the pandemic. Another campaign from the UK was a campaign targeting the Core Issues Trust. an organization in the UK that's registered as a charity and therefore is using UK taxpayers' money through gift aid to finance conversion therapy, so-called conversion therapy for LGBT plus people. We called on the Charity Commission in the UK to strip the Core Issues Trust of its charitable status. This is not a campaign that achieved a successful outcome, but once again it brings attention to the fact that there are organisations in the UK carrying out conversion therapy. As many of you know, Hungary is very, very much on the top of our minds at the moment, very, very much in the news because of the cruel and dangerous new anti-LGBT plus law that was signed off by the country's parliament just a few weeks ago. But a few months ago, another law was passed that restricted the rights of trans and intersex people in Hungary. And again, a local member from Hungary was able to start a petition with us, a local group from Hungary, that drew attention to this law and the massive negative impact it was having on intersex and trans people. Poland is another country that is very much on our minds at the moment as an anti-LGBT plus crackdown continues with LGBT free zones and anti-LGBT sentiments being expressed by both government and religious leaders. And this campaign, started by an activist in Poland, was based on the arrest of one of the Stop Bzdurom activists, Margot, who was arrested by the police in August, handcuffed and put into an unmarked police car. The activists were detained for 48 hours, very, very disproportionate response from the police to this activity. And this petition urged Polish authorities to stop intimidating LGBT activists, to stop treating them like criminals. Moving back once again to the UK, a Scottish member launched a petition calling on the Catholic Church in Scotland to stop platforming a US group called Courage International. Courage promotes the idea that same-sex attraction is objectively disordered and immoral, and they call on LGBT plus people to live abstinent, chaste lives and suppress their sexuality or gender identity. Scotland is one of the countries with the highest concentrations of Courage International chapters, with chapters across 4 dioceses and archdioceses. So providing a platform to Courage International, the Catholic Church is actually legitimizing a form of torture and abuse, and this campaign was designed to bring attention to that. Again, from our German supporter base, one of our German supporters really wanted to show solidarity with LGBT plus Muslims by sharing a picture of 2 kissing men and a rainbow flag superimposed on a photo of the Kaaba in Mecca. When several people reported to this posting, when they reported it rather to Facebook, they froze his account and deleted the photo. But he fought back using this petition platform, using New Power and People Power, receiving some more support from more than 4,500 people who signed his petition. Moving now to Africa, I'm sure that many of you are aware that there is a wave of crackdowns taking place across the African continent right now in places like Cameroon, Uganda and Ghana. In February of this year, Shakira and Patricia, 2 transgender women from Cameroon, were arrested while simply eating in a restaurant. They were tortured and taken to a men's prison where they were refused access to food and visits from family members. So a group from Cameroon launched a petition on this platform asking the authorities to release them immediately. We also supported their work with an emergency grant to help pay for some food and medication and legal support. Unfortunately, Again, this petition was not able to bring the success that we needed, and on May the 13th, the 2 women were sentenced to 5 years in prison. It's the maximum sentence for violating the country's anti-gay law. But we really hope that by running this petition, by bringing attention, the women were somewhat safer in that prison than they would otherwise have been. And we've followed up the petition with a postcard action. We've asked our supporters to send their messages of love and solidarity to Shakira and Patricia, and they've received over 700 real printed postcards in Cameroon. Again, staying in Africa, I mentioned it previously, in May, 21 people, mainly women, were arrested by local police in Ghana at a gathering, a workshop for LGBT plus people. Our partners there have used the platform to launch a petition calling for the release of those individuals, and over 10,000 people have signed. So these are just some of the hundreds of petitions that have been launched on this platform. They kind of bring the online power of the street into a space which is user-friendly, which is queer-friendly, which is open to our LGBT plus community. Once again, I would urge you to check it out. It's action.allout.org. Please use it as much as you want to run your own campaigns and bring that queer people power into the online organizing space. Thank you so much, and I believe there will now be the opportunity for some live online questions.